This video is going to be an introduction to how to use double-pointed needles. Double-pointed needles are used primarily for knitting in the round. They're used as an alternative to circular needles. They're very commonly used when making socks or anything that's kind of a little too small to do on circular needles without being a little cumbersome. So knitting with double-pointed needles, or DPNs as they're sometimes abbreviated, can be a little intimidating. I myself am pretty clumsy with it, but the kitten is here with us to give us the courage to go forward and practice. And with practice, it does get a lot easier. So this video is going to include 2 methods for casting onto double-pointed needles, and then we're going to go over how to join in the round, and we're going to finish up with how to actually knit with double-pointed needles. So before we get started, these are double-pointed needles. As you can see, they're pointed on both ends, hence the name. They usually come in a set of 4 or 5. They usually come in a set of 5 actually, but for some reason I only have sets of 4. So we're going to be working with 4 today, and a little bit of information. When you're not in the middle of a round, there will only be loops on 3 of your 4 needles. The 4th needle will be free to work the stitches. So the 2 methods for casting on that I'm going to show you are, the first one is when you cast onto another needle and then transfer them to double-pointed needles, and then the second method is going to be how to cast on directly to double-pointed needles. So in this, we're going to imagine that we are making a pair of socks, and we're going to imagine that the pattern instructions say to cast 30 stitches evenly onto 3 needles. So what that means is you're going to put 10 stitches on one, 10 stitches on the second, and then 10 stitches on the third for a total of 30 across 3 needles, and then you're going to leave your 4th one free to knit. So the first method is you can cast on 30 stitches to another needle and then transfer them. So I have cast on 30 stitches to a normal knitting needle, and I'm going to pick up my first double-pointed needle, and I am going to simply transfer 10 stitches onto this needle. I think that's 10. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slide those to the middle of this needle just to give myself a little bit of confidence that they're not going to fall off, because what I'm going to do next, and this is where it really takes a kind of leap of faith, I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it hang there. And I'm going to pick up my next needle, and I'm going to start slipping stitches onto that one. And again, I'm going to slip 10 stitches onto this needle. Okay. And again, I'm going to slide these to the middle, and then again, as with the first one, just going to drop it, just going to let it fall. Pick up the 3rd needle and transfer the final 10 stitches onto it. So as you can see, the needles can kind of get in the way of the needle you need to work with. So I'm going to probably repeat this a few times throughout this video. A lot of working with double-pointed needles is just getting the needles out of your way. You just gotta figure out how to work with them in a way that makes sense to you. Okay, so now I have the final 10 transferred, and now I have them all on my double-pointed needles, and I'm ready to start knitting with this. So, but we're going to slide these out of the way, and then I'm going to show you another method for casting on. And that is if you want to just cast on directly to your double-pointed needles. So I'm going to be using the slingshot method here. So I've got a long tail, and I'm going to, again, cast on 30 stitches evenly across 3 needles. So I'm going to cast 10 onto this one, and then 10 onto a second one, and 10 onto a third one. Okay, so, well, for this one I'm going to cast on 9 because I have my slip stitch. Okay, I think that's 10. Oh, no. 2, 4, 6, 8. It's only 9. Okay, so now I have 10 stitches on here. And again, I'm going to make sure I have a good grip on my yarn and just let go of it. And I'm going to pick up my next needle. Now, this was the part that was really confusing to me when I was learning how to cast on to double-pointed needles, because I have no slip stitch on this. What am I going to attach it to? But what you're going to do is you're going to do a slingshot method of pulling up a loop, and you're just going to do it the same as if you were working with the needle that already had loops on it. So I'm going to show it to you slowly. So you're going to take your needle, and just like with the slingshot method, you're going to pick up on the outside. You're going to go through the middle of the ring around your first finger, and you're going to go down the middle, and keep this first needle out of your way, and then pull tight. And especially when you're doing the first loop on a new needle, I like to give it a really good tug, and that just minimizes the gap between these 2 needles. So now you have a loop on here, and I'm going to do 9 more. So 2, 4, 6, 8. I can't count today for some reason. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There we go. And once again, I'm going to just slide these to the middle a little bit just to give myself a little bit of comfort that they're not going to fall off. Because again, I'm going to get a good grip on this, and I'm going to let go of them. Now we've got 2 of them kind of just hanging out in space, kind of like astronauts for some reason is the thing that came to my head. So you pick up your 3rd needle, and I find that the 3rd needle, incorporating the 3rd needle is really where it gets the clumsiest, because now you're working with 3 needles. So again, you're going to do the slingshot, pull tight, and snug that up between these 2. And then we're going to do 9 more. We're going to see if I can count to 9 this time. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 8. She can count, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so now we have 30 stitches across 3 needles. Now we need to do the scary part, which is actually knitting them.